Welcome. Today is not a normal video. Today is not something you watch and forget. Today is something that can change your results if you truly understand it. So before we go ahead, I want you to do one simple thing. Take a notebook. Take a pen. Do it now. Because this is not a movie. This is not entertainment. This is not just motivation. This is real understanding. I have carefully studied how toppers think, how they study, how they use their time, how they stay consistent when others quit. This is based on real patterns, real behavior, real difference between people who stay average and people who become toppers. And if you truly listen and apply this, your way of studying will change. Your confidence will change. Your results will change. But only if you stay serious. Now listen very carefully. Most students believe toppers are different. They think toppers are more intelligent. They think toppers are naturally smart. They think toppers have something special. And because of this belief, they already accept that they can never reach that level. But this is where everything goes wrong. Because toppers are not born different. They sit in the same classroom. They study the same subjects. They get the same time. The real difference is not intelligence. The real difference is how they think, how they study, and what they do every single day. Today, you are going to understand that difference. And once you understand it, you will never look at studying in the same way again. Strategy 1. Small target. Most students make one big mistake. They sit to study and say in their mind, I will study a lot today. But this sentence has no direction, no clarity, no clear finish point. Because of this, their brain feels pressure. They feel confused. They don't know where to start. So what happens? They waste time thinking. They get distracted. They lose focus very fast. A topper never studies like this. A topper always studies with a small and clear target. Not big, not confusing, very simple. For example, instead of saying, I will study science today, they say I will complete this one topic and understand it fully. This changes everything. Your brain does not like big tasks. Big tasks feel heavy. Big tasks feel difficult. Big tasks create fear. But small tasks feel easy. Small tasks feel possible. Small tasks create action. When you give your brain a small target, something powerful happens. You start quickly. You focus better. You complete it faster. And when you complete one small target, you feel a small win. That small win gives you energy. That energy pushes you to do one more small target. And slowly, without stress, you finish a lot of work. This is how toppers study, not in one big push, but in many small, clear wins. Let me give you a simple comparison. Average student. Sits for 3 hours. No clear goal. Reads randomly. Gets tired. Forgets most things. Topper. Sits for 45 minutes. Clear target. Focus on one topic. Completes it fully. Remembers it clearly. Now tell me honestly, who is actually studying better? Before you start studying, do not open your book immediately. First decide, what exactly am I going to finish? Write it down. Make it small. Make it clear. For example, I will understand this concept and solve 5 questions. Now your mind is focused. Now your study has direction. Now your time has value. And one more powerful thing. Never leave your target incomplete. Even if it takes a little more time, finish it. Because incomplete work creates confusion in the brain. Completed work creates confidence. Strategy 2. Don't follow many books and teacher. This is one of the biggest mistakes students make. They think, if I study from more books, I will learn more. If I follow more teachers, I will understand better. But the truth is the opposite. More sources do not give more clarity. They create confusion. Every book has a different way of explaining. Every teacher has a different style. When you jump from one to another, your brain gets mixed. One concept is explained in one way. Another source explains it differently. Now your mind becomes confused. You don't know which one is correct. You don't know what to follow. This creates a very dangerous problem. You feel like you are studying a lot. But actually, you are not understanding deeply. You are just collecting information. A topper never does this. A topper keeps things simple. One main book. One trusted teacher. That's it. And then they go deep. Very deep. They read the same topic again. They understand every line. They clear every doubt. They revise again. This creates strong clarity. This creates strong memory. This creates confidence. Success in study does not come from more material. It comes from better understanding of limited material. Average student uses 3 books, watches 5 teachers, starts many topics, finishes nothing properly. Result: confusion and weak understanding. Topper uses 1 main book, follows 1 teacher, repeats the same topic until clear. Result: deep understanding and strong memory. From today, you must make a strong rule. Choose 1 main source for each subject. Stick to it. Trust it. Do not run behind new materials again and again. If you feel confused, do not change the source immediately. First, try to understand again. Read slowly, think deeply, solve questions, because clarity does not come from changing sources. Clarity comes from staying and understanding. And once your base becomes strong, then only you can move forward confidently. Strategy 3. Short-term revision. One of the biggest reasons students forget what they study is very simple. They study one topic today. They understand it. They feel happy. Then they leave it. After that, they move to the next chapter. Then the next one. Then the next one. And after a few days, when they come back to the old topic, it feels weak. Some points are missing. Some definitions are broken. Some ideas feel familiar but not clear. This is where many students become frustrated. They say, "I studied this already. Why am I forgetting it?" The answer is not that you are weak. The answer is not that your memory is bad. The answer is that your brain needs quick return. This is why short-term revision is so powerful. Short-term revision means you do not wait too long to look at the topic again. You come back to it soon. Not after 1 month. Not only before the exam. Not only when panic starts. You revise when the topic is still fresh but starting to fade a little. This is the sweet point. This is the moment where revision becomes powerful. Because now your brain gets a message. This topic is important. Keep it. And when the brain gets this message again and again, the topic becomes stronger in memory. Now understand this deeply. Studying one time is not enough for most students. The first study gives you introduction. The second touch gives you strength. The third touch gives you stability. The fourth touch gives you confidence. That is why toppers do not trust one reading. They know that one reading can create understanding for the moment, but revision creates memory for the future. This is the real difference. Average students think study is finished when the chapter is completed. Toppers think study is finished only when the chapter starts staying in the mind. That is a very different mindset. Now let me explain in a very easy way. Imagine you write something on sand. For a short time, it looks clear. But after some wind, it starts disappearing. Now imagine you write over it again, then again, then again. Now it becomes deeper. This is exactly how revision works in the mind. The first study is the first mark. Revision makes the mark deeper. Without this, many students suffer from false confidence. They study today and feel, yes, I know this. But that feeling is dangerous, because understanding in the moment is not the same as remembering later. A topic may feel easy when the book is open in front of you. But the real question is this: can you remember it tomorrow? Can you explain it after 3 days? Can you write it in the exam without fear? This is where short-term revision saves you. Suppose you studied one topic today. Do not leave it and forget it. Revise it again very soon. Look at the main ideas. Look at the structure. Look at what you almost forgot. Look at what felt weak. This does not always need a lot of time. Sometimes even a short revision is enough to strengthen the topic. The power is not only in length, the power is in timing. That is why it is called short-term revision. You do not wait for memory to become completely weak. You strengthen it early. This saves a huge amount of time later. Because when you revise early, the topic stays alive. When you do not revise early, the topic becomes half dead in your memory, and later you have to almost study it again from the beginning. This is why many students feel their syllabus is too heavy. It is not always because the syllabus is impossible. It is often because they keep forgetting and rebuilding the same things. That wastes energy. That wastes time. That breaks confidence. Short-term revision fixes this problem. Now think of two students. The first student studies a chapter once and leaves it for many days. After some time, the chapter feels new again. Confidence goes down. Time goes up. The second student studies the chapter and returns to it quickly. The ideas become familiar. The structure stays clear. The memory becomes stronger. When exam time comes, the second student is calmer. Why? Because the brain is not meeting the topic like a stranger. The brain is meeting it like an old friend. That is the power of revision done at the right time. Now there is another important thing you must understand. Revision is not the same as rereading everything in a lazy way. Many students say they revised, but actually they only turned pages. That is not strong revision. Strong revision means you actively check what stayed in your mind. You should look at a topic and ask yourself, what do I remember? What are the main points? What part is still weak? Can I say it in simple words? Can I recall the steps without looking? This kind of revision wakes up the brain. It forces your memory to work. And whenever memory works, memory becomes stronger. This is why short-term revision is not just repetition. It is reinforcement. It is training. It is like telling the mind again and again, do not lose this. Now let me tell you why this strategy is especially powerful for students who feel average. Many average students think toppers remember everything naturally. That is not true. Toppers also forget things. But they forget less because they revise earlier and better. They do not leave memory to chance. They protect it. That is why they look sharp in class. That is why they answer quickly. That is why they feel more prepared. It is not always because they are more intelligent. It is often because they stayed connected to what they studied. That connection comes from short-term revision. Now make this idea part of your life. Do not study a topic and treat it like a one-time event. Treat it like something that needs a few returns. The first time you meet it. The next time you strengthen it. the next time you secure it. This way, your study becomes much more stable. Your confidence will also become different. Why? Because confidence does not come from hope. Confidence comes from repeated contact. When your mind has seen a topic many times, fear goes down. You stop feeling lost. You stop feeling blank. You stop feeling like the chapter is too big. Instead, you feel familiar, and familiar things feel easier. This is why short-term revision is not a small strategy. It is a survival strategy. It stops knowledge from leaking out of your mind. It protects your effort. It respects your time. It makes your study meaningful. Because what is the point of studying for hours if most of it disappears after a few days? Your hard work deserves to stay, and revision is what helps it stay. So from today, do not make the mistake of studying and leaving. Study and return. Study and strengthen. Study and lock it in. That is how memory grows. That is how pressure goes down. That is how a student becomes stronger chapter by chapter. And when this habit becomes part of your routine, something beautiful starts happening. You stop feeling like you are chasing your syllabus. Now your syllabus starts staying with you. Strategy 4. Make your own notes. Many students think notes are just extra work. They think notes mean writing the whole book again. They think notes take too much time. They think reading someone else's notes is enough. But this is where they make a big mistake. Because your own notes are not just for writing. Your own notes are for thinking. Your own notes are for making the chapter simple. Your own notes are for turning a confusing topic into something clear and easy to revise. This is why toppers make their own notes, not because they love writing, but because they understand one powerful truth. What you process with your own mind stays longer than what you only look at. Now understand this deeply. When you read from a book, the information is coming to you in the writer's way. When you listen to a teacher, the information is coming to you in the teacher's way. But when you make your own notes, the information starts taking shape in your way. That changes everything. Because now the topic is no longer sitting outside you. Now it starts becoming part of your own thinking. That is why self-made notes are powerful. They are not just pages. They are your understanding in written form. And when exam time comes, that becomes a huge advantage. Why? Because you do not want to fight through a heavy book every time you revise. You do not want to go back to long explanations again and again. You want something short, something clear, something direct, something that helps your brain quickly see the full chapter. That is exactly what your own notes do. They save your time. They reduce your confusion. They make revision faster. They show you what matters most. When you sit to make notes, you cannot just copy blindly if you want real benefit. You have to ask yourself, what is the main idea here? What is important? What can be made shorter? How can I write this in simple language? What will help me remember this later? These questions force your brain to organize the chapter. And organized knowledge is much easier to remember than scattered knowledge. This is why students who only read often feel mentally crowded. Everything is mixed. Everything feels long. Everything feels half clear. But a student who makes good notes starts separating the big from the small, important from unimportant, core idea from extra explanation. And once that happens, the subject becomes lighter. Now the chapter no longer feels like a jungle. It starts feeling like a map. This is the real beauty of notes. They bring order. And an ordered mind studies better. Now there is another important benefit. Your own notes reveal your real level. When you try to write a topic in your own words, you quickly discover whether you truly understood it or not. If you understood it, your note becomes clear. If you did not understand it, your note becomes weak, broken, or confusing. This is a gift, because now you can catch your weakness early. Many students do not know where they are weak because they only keep reading. Reading hides weakness. Writing exposes it. And what is exposed can be improved. So your notes are not only helping you remember, they are helping you detect gaps. That is one reason why toppers love active work. It shows them the truth. And truth helps growth. Suppose you study a chapter. After understanding it, do not leave it in the book. Pull out the important points. Write key ideas. Write definitions in simple form. Write steps in order. Write formulas or facts in a clean way. Write only what will help you revise and recall later. This part is very important. Do not turn note-making into another full book. That is not the goal. The goal is not to create beautiful pages that look impressive. The goal is to create useful pages that save your time and strengthen your memory. Your notes should help your future self. That is their job. They should make things shorter, cleaner, and easier. Now think about exam days. Pressure is high, time is short. Mind is already heavy. At that moment, a big textbook feels like a burden. But your own notes feel friendly. They feel familiar. They feel direct. They feel manageable. And because you made them yourself, your brain connects with them faster. This is why good notes can become one of your strongest weapons. Not fancy notes, not decorative notes, clear notes, smart notes, usable notes. There is also an emotional advantage here. When students depend only on books or others' material, they often feel lost. They feel they are always chasing something outside themselves. But when you make your own notes, you start building your own system. That gives confidence. Now you are not depending on luck. You are creating your own support. You are building your own revision tool. You are preparing your own rescue material for stressful days. This gives a different kind of power. It gives mental control. And mental control matters a lot in study. Now let me tell you one more beautiful truth. When you make notes, you are teaching your brain how to summarize. This is not just useful for exams, it is useful for life. Because smart people are not only people who know a lot, they are also people who can make complex things simple. And making notes trains exactly this skill. It teaches you how to take a big idea and compress it into something meaningful. That sharpens the mind, that builds clarity, that improves memory and understanding together. So never think notes are just a school habit. Good notes are a thinking skill, a learning skill, a clarity skill. Now from today, do not study and leave everything trapped inside the textbook. After learning, start extracting, start shaping, start simplifying. Create something that your future revision can trust. Because when the syllabus grows, your brain needs support. And your notes become that support. They become your short path back to the chapter. They become your second brain on paper. And once you build this habit well, you will feel a huge difference. Revision becomes smoother. Concepts become cleaner. Stress becomes lower. And the subject starts feeling more under your control. That is why making your own notes is not a small habit. It is a serious academic weapon. Used properly, it can save time, increase understanding, improve memory, and give you confidence when others are panicking. That is real power. Strategy 5. Study the important things first. One of the biggest differences between weak study and smart study is this. Weak study gives equal energy to everything. Smart study knows that everything is not equal. Because many students waste their best time on low-value things. They spend too much energy on small details. They spend too much time on less important areas. Then later, they rush through the most important parts. This creates poor results even after a lot of effort, and this is painful. Because the problem is not always lack of hard work. Sometimes the problem is wrong order. That is why this strategy matters so much. Study the important things first. Now understand what this really means. It does not mean you ignore the rest forever. It means you learn to recognize what deserves your strongest attention first. Some topics carry more weight. Some ideas appear again and again. Some parts build the foundation for other parts. Some questions are more likely to affect your score. These are not random details. These are high-value areas. And if your goal is to become a topper, you must learn to respect value. Because toppers do not only study hard, they study with priority. This is a powerful way of thinking. Now let us look at how many average students behave. They often start with whatever feels easy, or whatever page opens first, or whatever mood says at that moment. Sometimes they choose based on comfort, sometimes based on fear, sometimes based on no reason at all. This makes study random, and random study gives random results. But a strong student asks a better question. Not just, what should I study? But, what should I study first? That word first changes everything, because it forces you to think about importance. It forces you to see the chapter like a strategist, not just a reader. And strategy matters, especially when time is limited. Now think of your energy like money. Would you spend all your money on small, useless things and then have nothing left for what matters most? No. Then why do that with your attention? Your attention is precious. Your best focus usually comes in certain hours. Your mind is freshest at certain times. Those powerful hours should not be wasted on low-impact study. They should be used where they can create the biggest return. That is why studying important things first is such a serious habit. It protects your best energy for your highest value work. And this is what strong performers do in many areas of life. They do not begin with noise. They begin with what moves the result. Important topics are often not just about marks. They are often about structure. A subject usually has some key concepts that help you understand many other things later. If your base is weak, the rest becomes difficult. If your base is strong, the rest becomes easier. So sometimes the important thing is the thing that unlocks many other things. This is why smart order can reduce struggle. When you begin with the right parts, the subject starts opening up. When you begin with the wrong parts, everything feels disconnected. That is why this strategy is not only about scoring more, it is also about understanding faster. Before you begin a subject, ask yourself, which topics matter most? Which topics are asked more often? Which topics are the foundation? Which parts carry more marks or more conceptual weight? Which parts will make the rest easier once understood? These questions train your academic judgment. And once this judgment improves, your study becomes much more powerful. You stop behaving like someone who is drowning in content. You start behaving like someone who is selecting wisely. That is a major shift. Now there is also a mental advantage here. When you complete important areas first, your confidence rises. Why? Because now the biggest stones are already moved. The heavy parts are already under control. The exam starts feeling less scary. You feel more secure. You feel more prepared. But when you avoid important areas and keep doing only small, easy parts, the mind remains restless. Deep inside, you know the real work is still waiting. That creates hidden stress. So this strategy also reduces fear. It helps you face the meaningful work early. And when meaningful work gets done, peace increases. Studying important things first does not mean choosing only what is interesting. Important and interesting are not always the same. Many students spend too much time on topics they like and delay topics that matter more. That is not smart study. Real maturity in study means doing what matters, not only what feels nice. This is where discipline becomes intelligence. Because a student who learns to prioritize is not just studying. They are training themselves to make better decisions, and better decisions create better results. Another reason this strategy is powerful is because time is never unlimited. Every student says they want more time. But very few students use their existing time with real priority. You may not control how many hours you have in a day, but you do control what you place at the front of those hours. And that choice is powerful, because the first part of your study session often gets your best attention. So give that attention to something important. Let the strongest part of your day meet the strongest part of your syllabus. That is how you create academic leverage. That is how 1 hour starts doing the work of many weak hours. Now imagine two students again. One spends the day on random pieces, side topics, and easy sections. Feels busy, feels tired. But the core of the subject remains weak. The other identifies the big areas first and attacks them with fresh energy. At the end of the week, the second student is standing on solid ground. The first student only looks occupied. This is the difference between movement and progress. Not all movement is progress. Studying important things first makes your movement meaningful. It turns effort into impact. So from today, stop beginning your study in a careless way. Do not just ask what is in front of you. Ask what matters most. Train yourself to see value. Train yourself to respect priority. Train yourself to use your sharpest hours where they count the most. That one change can transform the quality of your whole routine. Because success in study is not only about how much you do, it is also about how wisely you arrange what you do. And when you master this, your preparation becomes stronger, calmer, and far more effective. That is how serious students rise. That is how toppers protect their time. That is how smart order creates strong results. Strategy 6. Don't delay study time. Most students think their biggest problem is lack of intelligence or lack of time. But if you look carefully, the real problem is much simpler. They delay. They keep pushing the start again and again. I will start after some time. I will study later. I will begin when I feel ready. I am not in the mood right now. This looks normal. This looks harmless. But this is one of the most dangerous habits a student can build. Because every time you delay, you are not just losing time. You are training your brain to avoid effort. Now understand this very deeply. Your brain always wants comfort. It wants easy things. It wants quick pleasure. It wants to avoid anything that feels difficult in the beginning. So when you delay study time, your brain feels rewarded. It says, "Good, we avoided hard work." And slowly this becomes a pattern. Then something strange happens. Even simple tasks start feeling heavy. Even opening the book feels difficult. Even sitting for 10 minutes feels like pressure. This is why many students say, "I want to study, but I cannot start." The problem is not ability. The problem is that their brain has learned to delay again and again. A topper understands one powerful truth. Starting is harder than studying. So they don't waste energy in thinking too much. They don't sit there asking themselves many questions. They don't wait for perfect mood. They don't wait for motivation. They decide a time and they respect it. When the time comes, they sit, even if they feel lazy, even if they feel distracted, even if the subject looks boring, because they know something very important. Once you start, everything begins to change. In the beginning, your mind resists. It feels uncomfortable. It tries to distract you. But after a few minutes, your brain shifts. Focus increases. Your attention becomes stable. The topic starts making sense. The resistance becomes weaker. This is called momentum. And momentum is one of the strongest forces in study. You do not need to feel ready to start. You need to start to feel ready. Imagine, you decide that you will practice speaking English every day at 7 p.m. Now look at two students. First student delays. At 7 p.m., they open social media. They say, "I will start after 10 minutes. Then 10 minutes becomes 30 minutes. Then they feel tired. Then they skip. Second student sits at 7 p.m. Even if they feel uncomfortable, even if they don't know what to say, they start speaking. At first, words don't come easily, but slowly something changes. The brain starts forming sentences. The hesitation becomes less. The flow begins. After a few days, the second student becomes more confident. Not because they are special, but because they started on time. When you delay, the task becomes bigger in your mind. A small topic starts feeling like a big burden. You think too much. You imagine it is difficult. But the moment you start, you realize it was not that big. Delay makes work look big. Action makes work look small. Do not wait for the perfect mood. Do not wait for the perfect time. Start at the decided time, even if it is not perfect, because action creates momentum. Momentum creates focus. Focus creates results. And results build your future. Now listen to me very carefully. You don't become a topper in one day. You don't become a topper by watching videos. You don't become a topper by feeling motivated for a few minutes. You become a topper by what you do every single day. Every small decision matters. When you start on time instead of delaying, you are building discipline. When you focus deeply instead of getting distracted, you are building strength. When you revise again instead of forgetting, you are building memory. When you make your own notes, you are building clarity. When you teach, you are building confidence. This is how toppers are created. Not by luck, not by talent, but by daily actions that most people ignore. Right now, you have two choices. You can go back to your old habits, or you can take this seriously. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to start. One small target, one focused hour, one honest effort. And then repeat it again tomorrow. Because success is not a big jump. Success is small steps done again and again. And one day, without even realizing it, you will look back and see something powerful. You are no longer average. You are different. Not because you changed overnight, but because you stayed consistent when others stopped. So don't wait for the perfect time.